Okay, hello and welcome to week 3 of my process to hopefully get more people from goal setting to goal getting and to help inspire more self-health responsibility and more self-peace and hopefully more world peace. And I thought I'd just share my LinkedIn banner. There we go. Self-health and self-peace for a better you and better humanity. Now, on with today's show, week 3, human needs. Originally, I was going to be covering what's called the MVP process as well, but I realized that would be too much to do in one go because I want to break things up into easily actionable steps, or at least easily actionable and memorable steps. So we're going to focus on human needs, and we're going to have a very brief intro to the MVP process. So what we're going to cover today is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is where Tony Robbins got the idea of the human needs. So we're going to go through the 6 human needs there. We're going to go through a little bit of Stoic philosophy that is very much related to what's happening in today's world. Then the psychopathology of the average, human needs, and then a brief intro into the MVP process, or the mission, visions, principles process. So, as ever, it's no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. And I'm going to come back to that again, and I'm going to keep hammering that one home, as well as Aldous Huxley's quote, medical science has made such tremendous progress that there is hardly a healthy human left. Yes, everyone's living longer than we did 50, 60 years ago, but are we actually any healthier? No, because people are not making the right decisions because they haven't been taught what those right decisions are. Most people go around thinking that they know the right decisions, but it actually turns out that we don't, and that includes medical doctors. Just a recap of some of the things we're going to be covering over the next year in the mental performance mastery side of things. You can read that for yourself when you go and watch the replay. There's my heroic thing. We can skip over that. Another good quote is, if you want to teach people a new way of thinking, don't bother trying to teach them. Instead, give them a tool, the use of which will cause new ways of thinking. And one of those tools is the heroic app, which will show you, well, will provide you more energy, productivity, engagement in the next month, and you can go and download it for free. So please go to Heroic. I'm going to save this actually, heroic.us, which he chose because heroic.us, and you can expect many benefits. There we go. Heroic protocol, that's what we're also going to be covering over the next year. The soul force equation, another great tool. The Magnificent 7, some of you already know about. The fantastic functional 3, which is my summary of that. But today, let's get on with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, I mentioned this a little bit before, and Maslow, the way he's a fantastic psychologist, and he interviewed a lot of people who he believed were self-actualized, which is what we're going to talk about before going into human needs. And so his basis was that as we go through life and progress ourselves mentally more than anything else, we have different needs that need to be met. And as those needs are met, we can progress to the next level and the next level and the next level. However, as we see with human needs, you don't necessarily need to start with just satisfying one level before you go to the next one. You can just go straight to the top. So before we talk about what a self-actualized human being is, okay, Maslow came up with the phrase psychopathology of the average, and he basically thought that, you know, what most people, most psychotherapists, psychologists, what most people think of as normal is actually in itself a psychopathology, because we have become so used to the way society is running that we think that we're all really healthy and normal. But he was thinking, no, we're not. We're not as actually psychologically mature, psychologically healthy as we could be. And if you have watched my beginning of the year webinar, or the one that I did end of 2022, I spoke about the book called The Healthy Deviant. And The Healthy Deviant was basically looking at a lot of different statistics that basically showed that only 1%, probably less than 1% of the population are actually leading truly healthy lifestyles. Now, this correlates with what I've been saying for years and years and years when we look at the fact that most people, and this includes medical doctors, most people die of preventable causes. Most people die of heart disease, which is mostly preventable, like 99.9%, heart disease, obesity, diabetes, and then we have most cancers, not all cancers, but most cancers are actually preventable and reversible and treatable in so many different ways. And the list goes on. And so many of these problems are because of our own choices, because we've chosen to actually follow what society says is healthy, but yet most of society end up with diseases of civilization. And so, as Pilar Gerasimo in The Healthy Deviant says, our most basic human needs are not being met during the course of what is currently passing, what currently passes for normal daily life. And so, whereas Maslow and human needs psychology are talking about the mental aspect, it's the whole physical side of things, which is why I am so keen on educating everyone about the Magnificent Seven and using the heroic protocols to actually get not just the thinking, but get all the human needs actually met, so that we can all, so we can increase the number of people that are actually living long, healthy lives. So if you want more information and more stats, then you can get The Healthy Deviant or go back and watch some of my previous webinars. And so that is also where I got this quote originally from. It's no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. It was from actually The Healthy Deviant, where I first read that. So thank you, Pilar. So self-actualization. This is from one of Maslow's books or collections of works. Musicians must make music. Artists must paint. Poets must write if they are to be ultimately at peace with themselves. What human beings can be, they must be. They must be true to their own nature. This need we may call self-actualization. It refers to man's and woman's desire for self-fulfillment, namely the tendency for him or her to become actually in what he is potentially, to become everything one is capable of becoming. So self-actualization is about actually realizing who you are and living it. And so, as he says, this could be anything from being, a poet, a musician, an artist, but in some of, he started to realize that this could be in someone who's a cook. It could be someone who's being a parent, and then you can show creativity in being a parent. Yes, you can be creative being a cook, that should be obvious, but creativity in being a parent. There are so many different things and so many different options, and people have within them different things that they want to be. And so it's trying to identify, it's not living up to society's expectations or your parents' expectations, or sometimes even your own expectations of what you think you will be, but actually who you really are. Like, is it really that what you want to be is a fantastic parent? And again, as a self-actualizer, you may actually change as you age. As you raise children, you may then want to be active in raising grandchildren, or you may want to actually then divert your attention and work in some charity. There's so many different ways to be self-actualized, but the first step is to actually try and figure out what it is, which is where human needs can help. According to Maslow, this need to actualize is not a wish or desire or a sure would be nice to have kind of thing. It's a need, just like we need oxygen. And so many of today's frustrations and worries and stresses come from us not actually fulfilling on that need. And for some of us, it's difficult because we don't actually know what that is. Now, you can actually have a look at the 19 characteristics of the self-actualizer, which you can go and Google and you can find these. But the one I really want to sort of focus on, just for the moment, is that self-actualizing people have a deep feeling of identification, sympathy, and affection for human beings in general. They feel kinship and connection, as if all people were members of a single family. Self-actualizing individuals have a genuine desire to help the human race. Whether that's as a an artist expressing stuff and wanting to bring more joy and love and beauty to the world, or whether it's as a parent bringing up fantastic children that are loving and caring. And I think if politicians were all self-actualized, they'd have a genuine desire to help the human race. And it would be much, much more so than today's and world leaders, and even religious leaders. I do think many of the world's religious leaders are not actually self-actualized. That's my opinion, not a necessary fact. But I think it's wise to start. If you don't know exactly what it is and who you want to be, then it's great to actually start on just trying to live some of virtues, the main virtues which I have spoken about before. See the energy webinar, I'll mention that again, so you can actually identify your unique virtues. But also it's great, if you don't know what you want to be, just to work on building each of the Magnificent Seven, or each of the heroic protocol pieces. Did I actually mention? Yes, so from How to Be a Stoic by Massimo Pigliucci. So the Stoic philosophers were 2,000 years ago, and it was actually, Stoic philosophy, if you haven't studied any Stoic philosophy, then just go and Google it, because it's amazing. There's all kinds of stuff. A study by Catherine Dalsgaard, Christopher Peterson, and Martin Seligman looked at how virtue is articulated in Buddhism, Christianity, Confucianism, Hinduism, Judaism, Taoism, what they call Athenian philosophy, mostly Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. They found a rather surprising amount of congruence among all of these. Religious philosophical traditions, and identified a six core virtues. So this is looking at all religions and everything around the world. Courage, justice, humanity, temperance, wisdom, and transcendence are actually taught in all of these different religions and ways of thinking. And just working on, so if all these religions and also modern science and modern positive psychology actually say, look, these are the virtues that is all being taught, then it would actually make a good idea to actually, we should be teaching this in schools. And getting back to the whole one family side of things, Diogenes in 412 BC basically spoke about, I am a citizen of the world. If asked where he was from, he wouldn't say I'm English, he wouldn't say I'm Ukrainian, he wouldn't say I'm Russian, he wouldn't say I'm American. He would say I am of the world, as in cosmopolite. And Socrates said the same thing. I am not an Athenian or a Greek, but a citizen of the world. The greatest thinkers of the world, the greatest religious leaders of the world, they didn't say they were of one nation. And we need to spread this more than ever, in my opinion. We need to actually make sure that we are thinking in a global way. And if you start thinking about your virtues and living them, we're going to help inspire not just a change in yourself, but others as well. And Stoic thinking and actually providing and living virtues. There's a book called Courage Under Fire by James Stockdale, who was in a prisoner of war camp in Vietnam. And then there's Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl was in the worst Nazi concentration camps in World War II, and he survived the concentration camps. And it's a great book to read, Man's Search for Meaning. It's not depressing. It's very, very enlightening. And if you actually start practicing virtues, Stoic philosophy, or whatever philosophy you want to have, then you're going to start having tranquility, fearlessness, and freedom, which is what James Stockdale said was the best thing about Stoic philosophy. It meant that he could actually survive with tranquility, fearlessness, and freedom. And Viktor Frankl, again, Jewish, but very much influenced by Stoic philosophy. So, and one of the things that they think of is, how can I use virtue here and now? Every challenge in life, whether you're locked in a concentration camp or a prisoner of war camp, every challenge in life, every harsh word from someone else is a chance for you to practice some virtue. And if you understand the virtues, if you understand this, it's going to help you become more resilient to stress. It's going to help you live a more happy life. It's going to help you not get knocked off the rails so easily. So understanding the core virtues that all of us share in common, and then understanding and going through the virtues finder or the strengths finder and understanding your virtues can be very, very powerful start. And this is so important for the MVP, the mission, vision, principles process. But the next part is the 6 human needs. So Tony Robbins, if you don't know him, I think he's the world's most highly paid life coach, among other things. And he took Maslow's hierarchy of needs and made some slight tweaks, and realized that there's no particular, or there's not really a hierarchy. And it's just a question of really finding out what are the needs that mean the most to you, and understanding and identifying the 2 that mean the most to you will help you understand how to be a truly happy human being, which will then help you actualize. So let's have a little look at these 6. So Maslow's sort of basic human needs are kind of summed up by just the word certainty. Most people in life need some kind of certainty, and they need to be comfortable. They need to avoid pain, and they have some level of consistency. So this is, having a roof over your house, knowing how much money is coming in, knowing what your daily routine is, working 9 to 5, having weekends off. It's all about those routine things. And some people love routine and certainty more than anything else. So don't sort of think, okay, this is the most important one to you. Just read through all 6. So the next one is actually uncertainty. So while we need lots of certainty, if everything was the same, we'd all be quite bored. So uncertainty is variety, and that change to help make us feel alive. So it's a bit more zing and pizzazz. And so maybe a lot of entertainers, David Bowie, like to change his life a lot. So a lot of top pop stars, where they reinvent themselves, maybe they value uncertainty. And also pop stars almost certainly, and actors almost certainly, have a great feeling of wanting significance, that need to feel unique, special, and important, and just say, hey, look at me, aren't I brilliant? I mean, we all have these. I mean, I love feeling significant. We all do. Love and connection. So to give and receive affection and support from others. Very, very, very important. And then growth. This is where we actually start actualization. This is to become more, to break through stagnation. We either grow or we wither. So the growth is where you start looking at yourself and you're thinking, okay, I've got certainty, I've got uncertainty, there's some significance, I understand that, yes, love and connection, but what I want to do is I actually want to grow more and be more. So this is where you start working on yourself by going through self-improvement, whether that's you think, okay, I need to exercise more, whether you think it's going to be, I need to improve my diet, or whether it's actually working on the mental side. And then we finally have contribution, which is giving back to society and the world. And what Tony Robbins mentions is, if you're heading, if growth and contribution are the 2 that mean the most to you, then usually it will bring everything else, the other 4, with you. Now, of course, not everyone's going to be growth and contribution, because some people, they don't have the time, or they're too much giving. There's so many other things going on in their life. It's other things that are more important to them. So whereas your virtues, which is your core identity, doesn't change as much, although it does change, and it's worth doing the virtues and core strengths identifier every year or so. The needs that are important to you may change over time depending on your circumstances. They may, or you may look at this and you actually may know that actually certainty and having a regular income is much more important to you than anything else, because then it means you can plan your holidays, etc., etc., etc. Oh, hang on, where have I gone? Certainty, uncertainty. So have a think about which of those 2 matter to you most at the moment, like over this next whatever amount of time. Which of those 2, certainty, uncertainty, significance, love, protection, growth, contribution, because this is going to help you understand yourself and how you actually find happiness. And is there actually one of these that will help you change your life if you lived it more as well? So for me, I know from a perspective, in certain ways, would it change my life if I had more certainty in my life? Possibly. All of these are important to me, that's certain, but I actually like change a lot. Yes, I love growth. And yes, I want to contribute as well. So those two are both very, very important to me. And as you grow, you do change a lot and you find a lot of strange things, and that really fulfills my need for uncertainty and variety more than anything else. And it certainly fulfills significance and love and connection as well. So have a think about those, because when you take that knowledge of the two needs that are driving you the most at the moment, and then you combine that with the virtues that you want to live, it's going to give you a much clearer blueprint of how you can be self-actualized, how you can actually be a loving, well, you are a loving, caring person, how you can actually feel that more yourself, and actually you can feel more happiness and more depth and more connection by understanding yourself. Yes, you can be a loving, caring human being, but so many loving, caring human beings get stressed out by watching the news and doing other things. Other people don't get so stressed out. And so it's understanding those virtues and actively, that's one of the things I love about the Heroic app, because you write them down and you see them every day and it reminds you, and that's one of the keys. It's not just living your virtues, it's actually actively knowing what they are and actively making sure you live them every day. So how do you live the life you want, feeling the way you want to? How do you live the life you want, feeling the way you want to? Okay, you work out what you want, basically, and what's driving you. And then you have a plan and you write it down. And then you look at your plan daily and you take action on your plan daily, and then you improve your plan as you see fit, and as your wants and desires and needs change, you make alterations and alterations. And that's where the MVP process comes in, because it helps you just on 1 or 2 pages line out your plan, what you want, and then how to build energy in your system to give you the, because you need energy in order to do the things you need to do, and how to connect at work or service, and how to connect and what your goals are. So the MVP process basically helps defend yourself against poor thinking, so you can experience more tranquility, fearlessness, freedom. And yeah, if you want to start putting together an MVP process and start working on these things more deeply, then you can reach out to me. And if you are just happy to watch these webinars every week for the next year, as long as I manage to get this all done, because that's the commitment that I'm making, then you basically just keep on showing up and taking action. Basically, I'm here to help if you want to speed up the process. If you're quite happy where you are, just doing things a little bit at a time at the process I'm laying out, then that's great, because I want more people to, there you go from goal setting to goal getting, and I want to inspire more people to be self-help, responsibility, to be more self-help. So I want to inspire more self-help, responsibility, more self-peace, more world peace. And if that is something you want to be involved with in some way, then reach out. Okay, so that is that for now. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to stop the live stream as well. And I just want to say thank you for watching whenever it is. And if you have any questions, send them my way. As ever, bye for now. I'm going to stop recording and we'll see you next week.